Imagine this. You wake up and everything hurts, but nothing's wrong. The sun slips through your blinds just right. The coffee is warm. Your job is stable. People like you. You smile in the mirror. You laugh in the kitchen. You reply with hearts, exclamation marks, and, "I'm good, just tired." But no one sees the quiet apocalypse unraveling inside your chest. You keep showing up. You keep performing. You keep smiling. Because what else is there to do? And no one asks twice, because you don't look like someone who's falling apart. You laugh at the right times. You say all the right things. You carry the light well enough that no one suspects you're drowning in it. And here's the paradox. You're the strong one, the reliable one, the one people lean on. But when you collapse, no one's there. Not because they don't care, but because you taught them not to worry. So you survive in a strange kind of silence. Loud on the outside, hollow on the inside. Smiling depression. Not a diagnosis, but a quiet epidemic. Not sadness with tears, but sadness with manners. Not absence of hope, but the ability to fake it so well that even you start believing it. But let me ask you this. How do you grieve something that has no name? How do you seek help when you've convinced the world you don't need it? How do you explain to someone that you're not okay, when even your reflection looks fooled? You don't want attention. You don't want pity. You just want someone to see through the smile and stay. But the world doesn't reward silent suffering. It rewards resilience. It praises the high-functioning, overachieving, emotionally contained soul who knows how to bleed without staining anything. So you keep going. You keep smiling. You keep surviving. Until one day, even survival starts to feel like a kind of death. What if the real danger isn't depression that screams, but the one that whispers, "You're fine," as it quietly unravels you from within? What if the most dangerous sadness is the one no one talks about because everyone around you is too afraid to ask, and you're too exhausted to answer? What if the face you show the world has become your greatest lie? And here's the most haunting question. If everyone believes you're okay, including you, but you're not, who's going to save you? Smiling depression isn't about being sad. It's about being erased from your own reality. So let's begin to peel it back, layer by layer, smile by smile, until we find the face beneath the performance, and ask it what it truly feels when no one is watching. Smiling depression doesn't come from weakness. It comes from practice. You didn't wake up one day and decide to hide. You were trained to. Not by choice but by necessity. Not by deception but by survival. Somewhere along the way you learned that showing pain made others uncomfortable. That your sadness became a burden. That emotions were acceptable only in moderation, only when neat, only when timed correctly. You smiled not because you felt joy, but because smiling was safer than explaining your sadness to people who wouldn't understand it. Carl Jung once wrote, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." And in that sense, the mask we wear isn't just for others. It's for ourselves too. Smiling becomes the armor you wear to avoid looking inward, because to truly acknowledge the pain would mean rewriting your identity. And who has time for that? So instead you become two people. The one they see, and the one you hide. The one they admire, and the one you can't bear to sit alone with at 2 a.m. And the longer the gap grows between those two versions, the more exhausted you feel just holding yourself together. This is the heart of smiling depression. The fracture of self. Philosophers have wrestled with this fracture for centuries. Jean-Paul Sartre believed that human beings are condemned to act, always performing, always presenting an image of who they should be to the world. But that this performance eventually detaches us from who we truly are. We are not free, Sartre said, because we are always becoming something for someone else. This idea explains the soul of the smiling depressive. They have become masters of performance, but strangers to themselves. Society reinforces this disconnection. We live in a world that worships functionality. Productivity is mistaken for worth. Hustle is mistaken for happiness. Doing great becomes a script we're expected to recite, regardless of what's happening beneath the surface. So we learn to edit ourselves. We learn which emotions are acceptable. We learn that vulnerability is dangerous currency, best spent in small doses, or not at all. And the cost of this constant editing? We lose the ability to be real, not just with others, but with ourselves. And the brain doesn't ignore this contradiction. When you smile while feeling grief, when you say, "I'm fine," while quietly breaking, your nervous system doesn't know how to respond. It sees a conflict. It doesn't know whether to activate the fight or flight response, or stay calm. So it does both. It flickers in confusion. It overfunctions. It creates chronic stress. Your body begins to ache. Your sleep becomes erratic. Your appetite changes, because your body knows what your mouth refuses to say. And eventually, smiling becomes not just a mask, but a prison, a routine you can't escape, because you've convinced everyone, including yourself, that it's real. You become an actor in a life you didn't audition for, saying lines you didn't write, pretending not to notice the script no longer fits. And maybe the most terrifying part is how easy it becomes, how natural, how habitual, how automatic, until you forget that sadness is allowed, that it's okay to break, that you were never meant to carry everything alone. So you continue. You go to work. You post online. You make jokes. You comfort others. And in the quiet space between texts and tasks, you ask yourself, why do I feel so hollow when I have so much to be grateful for? But that question is a trap, because the root of depression isn't always what's missing from your life. Sometimes, it's the pressure to be grateful while you're suffering silently. You don't need to justify your sadness. You don't need to earn rest. You don't need to pretend you're okay just to make others comfortable. Because the truth is, you can be loved and still lonely. You can be successful and still sad. You can be surrounded and still feel invisible. And that doesn't make you broken. It makes you human. You thought the mask would protect you. And at first it did. It helped you function. It helped you survive. It helped you pass as normal in a world that doesn't know what to do with quiet pain. But eventually, the mask stops being something you wear. It becomes something you are. And that's when the real damage begins. Smiling depression doesn't just numb your sadness. It distorts your entire emotional landscape. Because when you suppress one emotion, you suppress them all. You don't just lose access to grief. You lose joy. You laugh, but it doesn't touch you. You celebrate, but you feel outside of it, like a ghost watching someone else's life. You become a spectator in your own story. Over time, people stop asking how you are, because you've trained them not to. You say, I'm fine, so convincingly that no one questions it. You make the pain so palatable that no one senses the poison. And so, the loneliness grows. Not just the absence of connection, but the presence of invisibility. You are surrounded by people, and unseen by all of them. And this has consequences. Your relationships suffer, because vulnerability becomes impossible. Your self-trust erodes, because you've betrayed your truth too many times. Your body begins to carry what your voice cannot. Chronic tension, shallow breath, chest pressure that doesn't go away. Your nervous system lives in confusion. Your brain, flooded by the contradiction of smiling while hurting, starts sending mixed signals. And slowly, subtly, you begin to question your own reality. Am I really sad? Or am I just dramatic? Do I need help? Or am I just tired? This doubt becomes your inner dialogue. And in that confusion you shrink. Not because you want to, but because you don't know how to be real anymore. Smiling depression doesn't scream. It whispers, charms. It convinces you that silence is strength, that suppression is maturity, that smiling through it is what strong people do. But strength isn't smiling through pain. Strength is being honest about it. Breaking free from smiling depression doesn't begin with a therapist, a diagnosis, or a plan. It begins with a whisper. A moment of brutal honesty in a quiet room, when you finally look into the mirror and admit, I'm not okay. No dramatics. No theatrics. Just raw, silent truth. It's terrifying, because the mask has kept you safe for so long. It made you likable, palatable, digestible to a world that prefers your smile over your pain. But you weren't born with a mask. You learned it, which means you can unlearn it too. The rebellion begins not in public, but in the sacred space of solitude. 5 minutes a day. Sit with yourself. No phone, no music, no audience. What am I pretending not to feel today? What part of me needs to speak, but hasn't been allowed? What happens if I don't smile right now? Then breathe. Feel what arises. Don't judge it. Just witness it. This isn't self-pity. It's self-return. You are remembering what it feels like to feel. And when you're ready, take it further. Practice honesty in small, manageable doses. Instead of I'm fine, say, I've had better days. Instead of laughing something off, say, actually that really hurt. Instead of disappearing into busyness, say, I need a moment. Each truth, no matter how small, chips away at the illusion. Each word becomes a rebellion against the silence. And here's the strange part. When you drop the act, you don't lose people. You attract better ones. People who don't need your mask. People who can sit with your sadness. People who say, me too. Instead of, just smile more. You don't have to perform your way into belonging. You don't have to edit yourself to be loved. Your pain is not a stain. It's not something to apologize for. It's a part of you, but it's not all of you. And the moment you begin honoring it, you begin healing it. There will be moments you'll want to go back. Back to smiling through it. Back to pretending. Back to autopilot. But remember this. Comfort is not the same as peace. Familiar is not the same as safe. Performing is not the same as living. The rebellion is not loud. It's quiet, soft, persistent. It's the moment you stop saying, "I'm okay," when you're not. It's the moment you sit with your sadness. And don't try to fix it immediately. It's the moment you realize your real face without the smile was never too much. It was just never given enough room to breathe. There is a moment, quiet but seismic, when the mask finally slips off and you do not rush to put it back on. You sit there, exposed, uncertain, raw, and something strange happens. You're still alive. No lightning strikes. No shame floods the room. No one runs. Instead there is space. A stillness you haven't felt in years. A silence that doesn't threaten to swallow you but cradle you. And in that silence, something ancient and buried begins to whisper. You are allowed to exist without performing. Let that sink in. You don't have to impress to be worthy. You don't have to entertain to be accepted. You don't have to smile to be safe. You are not a curated highlight reel. You are not a support system for everyone else. You are not a character in someone else's comfort narrative. You are allowed to take up space. Even when that space is messy, sad, slow, or confused. This is the ultimate truth behind smiling depression. It doesn't begin with sadness. It begins with disconnection. Disconnection from self, from body, from needs, from truth. And healing isn't about getting back to normal. It's about learning that you were never the problem. The performance was. You were tired because you were split in two. You were anxious because you were carrying the weight of contradiction. You were numb because you were forced to feel in silence. But now, you don't have to. You can cry and still be strong. You can rest and still be worthy. You can be seen fully and still be loved. Your truth is not too much. Your sadness is not inconvenient. Your voice, even trembling, even quiet, is still yours. And maybe that's what healing really is. Not becoming better. Not becoming happy. But becoming whole again. So if you're reading this and you're still smiling through it, still pretending, still convincing everyone that you're okay, I'm not here to tell you to stop. I'm just here to remind you. You don't have to keep it up forever. You can lay it down, bit by bit. You can be real. You can be seen. You can be held. Not for your smile. Not for your strength. But for your truth. Because behind that perfectly timed laugh, beneath those bright eyes and steady tone, there's a soul that has waited patiently for years. For you to turn inward and whisper, "I see you. You can come home now." And that's the truth about smiling depression. It ends the moment you give yourself permission to be honest without apologizing for it.